Welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing today? Henry, how you doing
Another
today?
few
How's it
people,
going,
man.
brother?
Man, I'm blessed and highly favored. Can't complain. Can't complain. let's uh let's let everyone in so like that we can get this rolling. We got a pretty near and dear topic to me. So it's gonna be a good one to talk about the things that we don't like to talk about. So this is gonna be a good conversation between you and I and our veteran community. Can't wait.
Definitely. I think
So how
a
you
lot
doing,
of our
brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Same as you, blessed and highly favored. Happy to be here. Happy to be part of the veteran community. Being able to spread education and knowledge to the veteran community to be able to help them in this process. So it's a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for those that are coming in, welcome, welcome. Um, don't allow Charles and I to talk for the next 60 minutes by ourselves. Please, please put in the chat, put in the comments below where you're from, what branch of service you tuned into. I mean, you served in. So, like that, we're able to shout you out, big you up. I always like to big up our vets as they're coming in and showing us some love.
Definitely. Let
Army,
us
we
know
got
the
an
exact
army.
number.
Okay,
Yeah, if you're a member
exactly.
with us, an elite member, please let us know. And who's your coach? If you want to shout out your coach, please feel free to shout out your coach. This is a very good platform to do so. So please do that.
Okay, we got some Air Force. Michael, Air Force. We have Navy, David, USMC. Another Army.
Awesome.
Let's go. Let's go. Marines. Man, they're coming in strong. Ricky, what up, brother? USMC. Oh, I
So
got one of my vets on. Nice, Bob. What's up?
beautiful.
Awesome. Let's go. This is awesome. Yeah, just
And
keep
for all,
flooding them in.
yeah, keep bringing it in. Also, to let you know that we also, for those veterans that prefer to speak Spanish, we are well, two of us are actually on here right now, but there's other veterans that
Hmm.
can assist veterans if they prefer to speak in Spanish.
Yeah,
So
you have to hit the SAP button on this live, and then we'll translate it in Spanish.
exactly, exactly. But yeah, if you're looking for assistance in that manner, we can tailor to that and speak Spanish to be able to help you understand the process. So for those people that do speak Spanish, bienvenidos, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, this is great. It's
So
always fun to
Henry,
have this nice conversation with you, brother.
definitely, I always enjoy being with you, doing Facebook lives. I know we did the last one was in Spanish, both of us, and now we're transitioning over to English, and it just so happens that we're doing it together. So that's outstanding.
It's awesome.
So Henry, you want to
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself? That way, so we can start proceeding forward.
I don't know if I want to tell people about myself. Then they might want to. They might log off. No, no, I'm just kidding.
Don't say
Born
that.
and raised in New York City. Born and raised in New York. A month before 9/11, I joined the military. While I'm in basic training, 9/11 happened. Um, that's when everything kind of started to build up with myself. Then went to Iraq, spent some time there, injured, and then came home, not understanding what the VA world was, and didn't even know what it was. And then from there, fought with the VA for a little while. Again, just throwing things against the wall, not really knowing. I guess what's the saying? If you don't know what you don't know, so you just like, yeah, I want to file for this, I want to file for that, and nothing really stuck. But from there went found this guy on YouTube screaming at people from Austin, boom, and I'm like, what is this guy talking about? But he just made sense about a lot of things. So came on as a client, became an insider. became an elite member, and got me to the percent that I'm at now. Currently still a client, and then from there, I saw the opportunity to become a coach, and I said, man, I would love to do this. I would love to help out, um, and help others not make the same mistakes that I made. I think that's the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes. So I'm excited.
Definitely.
How about you,
Well,
brother?
me, my name is Charles Rosario. I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was raised in Puerto Rico's Rio Piedra, Puerto Rico. And basically, I joined the Air Force in 1997. I ended up getting out of the Air Force, and I took a pause in between. In 2003, I joined the Army National Guard. And then from there, I ended up getting deployed for Homeland Security in that aspect. And as I transition out from the Army National Guard, uh, basically I didn't know. It's just transition out back to civilian, and was not aware about the process like many other veterans. As I continue to move forward, worked as self-employed, and then this wonderful opportunity actually came out and sparked a fire under me to be able to uh, you know, uh, figure out how to be able to go through this process. And the wonderful opportunity came in to actually work for the company, and it was such a blessing in that aspect. So for me, that's my journey. That's how I'm here, loving every aspect of helping the veteran community. We're so big, we're so vast. There's so many of us that really don't have the information to be where they need to be. And I enjoy every moment of this to be able to help every veteran that I can get in touch with. So that's my story. I love it, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. Well, cool. Let me get
Disclaimer.
the essentials out of the way, right? Our disclaimer: we are not accredited agents, VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veteran Affairs, also known as the VA, and we are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education-based coaching slash consulting company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with a vetted independent medical professionals in our referral network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions, also known as IMOs, for a wide range of disability conditions. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get rolling.
Let's get it on. So what's the topic for the day?
The topic of today is worrying about the future. No, the topic of today is that, anxiety. Um, you're not alone. Anxiety falls along that mental health umbrella, that taboo that no one likes to talk about. Um, but that some are dealing with inside because it's that invisible disability, is that condition that, man, I don't see it. You look fine, Charles. What's wrong with you? You look fine. But deep inside, we're dealing with stuff that can potentially be the diagnoses of anxiety. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
That's a good point, Henry. I definitely deal with anxiety, and I'll be honest, every class that I come to, I have that sense of anxiety because I want to be able to perform to my best, to the best that I can perform. So for me to always have that sense of anxiety, worrying about a sense of failure or not performing to my best capacity, tends to plague me, and it's only because based on certain experiences that I've had in the military to perform at my absolute best. So a lot of veterans end up suffering from these conditions and that aspect, and not really know about it. And a lot of it has to do with the education aspect of it. Uh, not really being educated on what are those conditions, and possibly not having the evidence, or being treated or going to the doctor to really know what their symptomology is.
Correct. Correct, because there's a lot of things that we deal with inside, and as veterans, we we can say, you know what, I don't want no one to know about this. I don't want anyone to judge me or any of that stuff. But for me, for my personal journey in battling with that was I kept hiding it, but it also not only was I missing out on compensation, but I was also missing out on medical treatment. So it took that vulnerability for me to say, you know what, I need to get what I deserve. So I need to speak up. I need to tell someone. And anxiety is one of those things where what is it they say? Depression is you worrying about the past. Anxiety is you worrying about the future. So like you
Sure.
said, you had this class coming up, and you're such a perfectionist that you want things to go the right way that it allows you to um
Manifest my
think about,
condition.
oh man,
Yeah,
the class might go wrong or my Wi-Fi might go
exactly.
down. I don't know what to do. Right. So those type of things that we overanalyze allows us to feel a sense of anxiety. Now I'm not a doctor, so I don't, I can't diagnose anyone, but I know from my own personal feelings, I know what it is and how it is and how to overcome it.
Yeah, that's definitely true in that aspect. A lot of times you know, we really don't become vulnerable. And I think you ended up hitting that word is being vulnerable, really being able to be uncomfortably vulnerable, to be able to at least make the first step of trying to get treatment or trying
Yeah.
to acknowledge that there is something wrong. You don't have to diagnose yourself. That's not your job. Your job is to be open and to more or less explain what you feel. And for me, being vulnerable, I'm a perfectionist. So every class that I come to, I'm idling at 70%, meaning that, I'm ramped up, ready to go for those same reasons that Henry is saying, worrying about the future, worrying about things that have not happened yet, that possibly may never happen. But because I am wired in that particular aspect due to certain experiences that I've had from service, that's basically how I function. And like Henry said, it's a silent disease, in that aspect. We can look fine on the outside, but inside it plagues us, and it could affect us in so many different ways.
Yeah. I think you and I had a conversation about this obviously in last year when we
Yeah.
had our Spanish class, but I don't want to say all vets, but just from um my own experience and my own assumptions, you have a broken leg, man, you're gonna go to the doctor, you're gonna get the treatment, you're gonna get the medications, you don't care what it is, you're gonna go do it. But when it comes to mental health, I think we can be a bit more little bit more on the taboo side. Like, I don't want to talk about this stuff. I don't want to mention none of this. People are gonna start judging me. Like, man, you look fine. What's wrong with you? And it's it's wrong. I think for people to even assume that you're fine when you're not. So speak up. Like Brian Reese always says, get your butt to the doctor. Not only for your claims, right? You want to get your butt to the doctor because you want to start going and getting the treatment that you deserve. Talking to someone that's went to school for this, learned how to help people, how to get coping skills when you're struggling, when you're having those down moments. It's never something that you want to deal with on your own because that's probably what got you in that position anyway. So let's have someone that's gonna help you.
That
Now,
you know
all of that said and done, brother. Um, as we are coaches, um, tell me, how is it that the VA looks at anxiety?
uh when you say how does the VA look at the anxiety, you talking about the rating scale
Correct.
per se? Well, there's different rating scales for it. It rates at 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100. And there's particular criterias that actually go with those rating scales. You could actually see that in the resource. If you're not a member, please be a member. We have that on the resource in your resources portal once you become a member. That gives you the insight of exactly what are those criteria levels. There's also 31 symptoms that the VA actually recognizes as symptomology that veterans go through in that aspect. And it's a matter of, and I want to go back to Michael Alanis that says, glad to hear this ego kept him from speaking to a doctor. It goes back to that being vulnerable, taking that first step to be able to actually acknowledge that there's something wrong in that aspect. Once you do that, it's a matter of really taking one step at a time to be able to get that medical treatment. Most of all, what's the most important thing is your treatment overall. You have to be able to receive the treatment from somebody that actually is licensed to do these things, to be able to provide you with the tools to be able to cope socially and occupationally, which is going to be extremely important, because those are some of the key factors that the VA acknowledges where these disabilities can hinder you. And that's basically
Mhm.
part of the rating scale. In that aspect, is those are two big factors right there that the VA determines what rating you should be in, amongst other factors that are also considered in that aspect. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that we can't provide you a diagnosis. We give you the coaching in that aspect, but it's always best to go see a licensed medical provider. Don't self-diagnose yourself. Sometimes you can shoot yourself in the foot when it comes to that, or misdiagnose yourself. Make sure that you do it appropriately, because then you're going to start understanding your conditions and how it affects you in this dynamic of social and occupational aspect.
Mhm. Correct. I mean, what the VA doesn't know, they can't rate you for it. And
Exactly.
mental health is well, anxiety,
Sure.
given that that's the topic for today. It's one of those things that they can't put you in an X-ray machine and see what you have. They can't
Correct.
draw your blood. Oh, wow. Yeah, I can see how much anxiety you have given with this. It's all about um, your medical evidence. It's all about what you express to this doctor or the psychiatrist. And if that is not said, then there's no way of them knowing, magically
Exactly.
knowing what's going on between your ears, for them to say, "Yep, this is where this person is at. Let's give them this rating." And I know it's uncomfortable, especially talking to someone that you never met. Um, you're probably going in there with that sense of anxiety. You're already assuming that they're judging you, assuming all of these things. But the best way to go through it is to go through it and allow someone to say, "Hey, let me take this uniform off. Let me take my medals off. Let me show you who I really am behind all of
Correct.
this. Let me bring you in." And it's tough. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It is tough. Sometimes there's some symptoms that come from that, which you know um, it can cause issues with sleeping, it can cause issues with memory loss, it can cause issues with panic attacks, heart racing. Um, as we're doing this class right now, I'm gonna be honest. You know, palms are sweaty, knees weak.
Same
You
here.
know,
Same here.
or you're like, right? But no, it's just that it's also just, man, just that pride, right? Just,
Mhm.
I'm good. I'm a soldier. I'm a GI Joe. You know,
I'll tough it through. Yep. Suck it up. I'll move on. I wanted
doctor
to
doctor I'm good. Doctor I'm good is the best doctor in the world. Like, he's always working for everyone.
add, it's funny that you say they're not really funny, but very insightful that you're saying that. And as I'm taking a look at the comments, uh, I would highly suggest we use a SEM aspect, which is strategy, education, and medical evidence. So if you're struggling with those aspects, feel free, join the elite membership. We're able to actually coach you in that aspect to be able to get you a little bit more comfortable in verbalizing those things with the resources that we have. So then that way you're able to identify certain factors and start learning the process to become a little bit more comfortable to verbalize yourself. Like Henry said, none of this is easy. I still struggle with it on that aspect. There's a lot of things that I keep within that I don't verbalize, that sometimes, or not sometimes, the majority of the times I manifest physically in that aspect, because it's actually an internal thing that's going on with me that since I haven't been able to really allow myself to be totally vulnerable, I haven't learned to have the coping mechanism, the proper coping mechanism to be able to reduce that anxiety. And I'll be quite honest, being in this job, being with the veteran community, having other veterans that understand, that are compassionate, has helped me out a lot to become more vulnerable, to feel more comfortable, start looking at myself, and of course, getting the proper medical evidence for me, to be able to actually understand and kind of re look at myself in a different perspective. Kind of say it's okay to be where I'm at
Uh,
and take one step at a time to be able to actually work on these conditions or disabilities that I'm having. And like Henry said, it's not easy. I struggle with it, just like any other vet. But the beauty about it is that we have a very good community, especially here at VACI, that's able to help you with the coaching mechanism.
that's awesome, brother. You keep talking about this coaching. What is that? Like who? What do I get as a as a veteran? Um, I s- I say, you know what? I like what you're saying, Charles. Let me click this link and sign up. And what does a vet get when they become when they sign up as an elite member?
As an elite member, you end up getting limitless information and resources in reference towards disability, the claim process. You also end up getting, which is the most important, is one-on-one coaching with whatever coach is assigned to you, to be able to have conversations in reference towards mapping out what is the best strategy to go after, in reference towards the disabilities that you have. Just because
Yeah.
you have the disability, you may not have the medical evidence. So we try to look at the path that is preferable, or let's say, for example, obtainable during your claim process, so that one-on-one coaching allows to have that sense of communication with a coach, and you have access through that through your elite insider portal, which is given to you once you become a member, that you can pick on their calendar anytime that's available on their calendar, to be able to have that meeting, 30-minute call or 15-minute call, to be able to discuss your strategies and your plan of action when it comes to your
Mhm.
disability, and we guide you through a step-by-step process to make sure that we can minimize, or let's say reduce, any type of aspect where there may be failure in that aspect. So we try very best to make sure that you can be coached to excellence. We're all, the majority of us here are vets, so we don't like to lose. We're perfectionists.
I think also when I get asked that question, like, "Hey, Henry, what do you do for a living?" To me, it's just I like to look at it as giving vets a tailored strategy to where they're going, and then also having their six. There's many
Of course.
times us having conversation with vets about this topic in particular, and it's also, "Hey, Henry, I have this exam, I have this CMP coming up, or I have this evaluation, and man, I just feel so anxious about it." That's great. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to be honest, right? You want to be vulnerable. You want to keep it
Mhm.
military. So when you go in and talk about your symptoms, hey, this is my symptom. This is what I'm feeling at the moment. Um, not the I'm good, because the I'm good is, if you're good, then you wouldn't be here, right? You wouldn't be in this process. So you want to speak on and be as honest as possible. Tell them exactly what you're feeling, but that takes some time. And I think one of the values that we bring as coaches is, you guys are the ones in the playing field, but we're here to equip you and give you that guidance, but also to, hey, you got this. Hey, Charles, don't worry about it. I got you back, um,
Definitely.
and that goes a long way. I remember as a client just having my coach, hey, you ready? Cool. Get in the game. Let's go. And then even after, hey, man, this is how it felt. It just felt so genuine, right? To have someone to be there and show that they care. It's not like, you know, just throwing you out there and not helping you out at all. Paul said to please explain is
SEM.
SEM. Yeah,
Yes.
that's strategy, right? Strategy is like where we're going, right?
Yep.
What needs to happen. I always love when I go to the VA hospital and I'm in the lunchroom and they're like, "Listen, this is what I did. You need to do exactly what I did." And I'm like, not every veteran is the same. So every veteran has their own path to go to. Now, the VA requires the same thing, but every veteran has different experiences, different. Their past is different, right? So
Correct.
strategy, education, right? You want to know how the VA rates the condition that you're going for, and then medical evidence. Medical evidence is the oxygen to every claim.
Exactly. That's well
Yeah.
put, in that aspect. Also to address, I believe, Chris Giles, uh, every case, like Henry said, is individual. But anxiety can be under the umbrella of PTSD, but that's something that you may want to address once you have a coach so they can take a look at your particular case. Definitely don't want to provide information that may not be applicable to all in that aspect. So once you sign up to becoming an elite member and you upload your documents, they'll be able to take a look at it more in depth and provide you a specific strategy or give you a better explanation on how that is applicable in your particular case in that aspect.
But just to kind of just
Hmm.
um, an overview statement. Anxiety is a symptom of PTSD, so it'll fall under that umbrella of um, it'll fall under that umbrella of PTSD.
Correct. Or mental health
Yeah,
aspect.
mental health. Yeah,
Yeah.
right, correct.
Part of the SEM
Yeah,
also is the information that we provided, which is strategy, education, and medical evidence. But not only with the elite membership, you also get more as well. And you have classes 3 times a day via Zoom. One is going to be coffee with coaches, which is Monday through Friday. What is it, 8 a.m. Central Time? It's a good platform to be on, to be able to talk with other veterans, have that sense of community, sense of encouragement. It's definitely an excellent platform to be on. I enjoy it. I love it. We also have for mental health preparation to actually help you out in the aspect of how to do the mental health claims. So that actually helps you out. You're able to ask those questions that you would like to be able to prepare you even more when you go through your mental health aspect. And then of course CMP preparation, where that's the most important. That's when you're going to go in front of one of the VA's providers to be able to go through the process, so then that way they can rate you for your disability that you're claiming for. So that's going to be extremely important if you attend those classes, because it's going to get you best prepared for this process.
yeah, yeah. So how do you even get the rating, right? Which again, that's the topic is anxiety, but how do you even get that rated, right? So the
Mhm.
VA requires three things for something to be rated, right? You need a medical diagnosis of that condition, right? Then you need in-service event, something that happened to you in service that can be the stem, or maybe it's a condition that you already are service connected for, where anxiety will be secondary to that. And then the last piece that's missing is a nexus. Nexus is a fancy word for connection. So it's the link between the two that tells the VA, hey, these two things are connected. So that's how anxiety can be service connected at the VA.
Also, don't forget
Also,
that you need a current diagnosis as well
right.
to
And
show
speaking
that.
of diagnoses, there's so many, right? There's generalized anxiety, there's social phobia, there's other specified, there's panic attack, there's unspecified anxiety disorder. So there's so many that you want to get it diagnosed. You want it to be where a doctor is not only diagnosing but also treating you and helping you out. So like that, you can get the treatment and the coping skills that you deserve.
And if you're not
Um, I,
sure, we also provide a free discovery call. So feel free to sign
mhm,
up and we can give you a discovery call that we can actually start discussing some of this stuff for you. So then that way it's a little bit more personalized to you. In that aspect, doesn't cost anything, it's totally free in that aspect. So I would highly suggest that a discovery call would be best, so you can start learning about the process,
mhm,
to be able to help you make those decisions better informed, which is part of the education process.
correct. I
Sorry, I
do
had to
want to
throw.
address some. I do want to address a comment. I believe it was Paul Neal. He said, "Is this the same as PTSD?" So, PTSD in its name, post-traumatic stress disorder, that means there was an event that happened that caused the trauma, and that is tailored specifically to that event. Anxiety can be just an overall symptom, an overall something that you've started to feel or develop. It could be stemming from PTSD, or it can just be a generalized or unspecified anxiety. So
Correct.
PTSD is can be a part of. I mean, anxiety can be a part of PTSD, but they're not really the same. It's hard to explain, pretty much, but yeah, PTSD is just mainly there's a specific event that caused your trauma.
Correct.
Mhm.
And then anxiety and depression could be generalized per se, depending on what that condition is. But the best aspect to explain it is to make sure that you get a diagnosis, because they'll be able to best provide what is your condition in that aspect. You may have certain factors, let's say, of PTSD, that you have other conditions that can be included under that umbrella.
Mhm.
So, like we said, we're not doctors in any way, shape, or form. So the best thing to do is actually get that professional help. So then that way you can get that diagnosis to best explain what are your conditions and symptomology.
Yeah. Another comment: zero caution. Adjustment disorder with anxiety and depression, 30% rated over 11 years has gotten worse. I don't ever talk about it because I felt my service wasn't worth comparing to those who, hey, your service and your condition has nothing to do with the next person. I told myself that for many years. And again, like I mentioned before, not only was I missing out on the compensation side, I was also missing out on the medical treatment side because I wasn't being upfront and telling my psychiatrist, "Hey, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm struggling with." And it took me a while. It took a while for me to just say, "This is it. This is who I really am. I need help." So I encourage you to please, um, be honest with yourself, but also go and talk to someone. You know, go into the VA, tell them, "Hey, you're rated at 30, so you can get the care. You don't have to pay for it." Um, but yeah, I would highly recommend you to please. What you did and you served has nothing to do with the next person or the treatment you're going to get or the care, the compensation that you're going to get. The two don't collide. They're not going to take it away from Charles to give it to Henry. Um,
Correct.
it's the service is there for all of us.
Well, I would like to jump into the aspect of how anxiety affects or impacts veterans. And it could impact veterans in different ways. But, anxiety can manifest in various ways, such as constantly feeling on edge, having panic attacks, experiencing social anxiety, or having difficulty sleeping in that aspect. These symptoms can interfere with your ability in your social and occupational aspect, and it also an everyday task. And that's something that you have to be able to learn how to verbalize those things. And they can also lead to other issues such as depression, substance abuse, and suicide. Which that's the very same thing that we as veterans always concern, is the suicide rate. We don't want no veterans to go down that path. So it's very important to get the mental health treatment that you need, be very open and vulnerable. So then that way we can minimize that aspect. And if you're experiencing anxiety, it's essential to get help. It's extremely important to get that help.
Yeah.
Use your VA. VA offers tons of mental health programs, for veterans. So don't be shy. Like another vet said, don't let your ego get in the way. Talk to someone. Start that process. Take that first foot forward. So then that way it doesn't lead to a lot of these symptoms, and you're able to find the proper tools to cope when it comes down to these particular type of disabilities, especially with anxiety, which plagues many veterans in that aspect.
Mhm. I do want to touch on that too. I myself, I took
Mhm.
advantage of a lot of the resources that the VA gives, and in the hospital that I was in, they had painting, they had meditation, and because not many vets were showing up, they took those resources away. So that's why sometimes when I hear that we say, you know what, um, I want to let someone else get the benefit, right? I don't want to take it away from any other vet. I think it's kind of like doing a disservice to the veterans in your community, because now
Mhm.
if you're not getting the company the rating that you deserve, then you're not going to the hospital to get the resources. So they're just like, well, let's move the resources from this area to another area,
Else, correct.
um, because no one's actually utilizing the resources. So um, yeah, I highly encourage, please, please go in, get the treatment, utilize the resources. All it's gonna do is just help you and make you feel better. Um, there's a comment on the in the chat, Rich. He's how does anxiety as secondary to tinnitus look? It looks like anxiety secondary to tinnitus. Being honest, right? Being honest with yourself and allowing that to see if there's a connection. What is the success rate? Medical evidence. That's the success rate. Do you have it
Yeah,
or not? Right? Is there a doctor that can connect the two together? Um, to give a blanket statement, like how is that? Is it possible? Yeah. The success rate, I honestly don't know because every veteran is different.
it's
It has
different,
to be
correct.
diagnosed. You need a nexus, and then you need a connection. So, um, yeah. But is it possible? I've seen
Of
it.
course.
But just to give out that blanket statement, there's no way to actually do that.
Definitely. Going back to what Henry said, using the VA, it's very important because those resources will be applied in those departments that are mostly used. Additionally, if you don't have any rating for that mental health aspect of anxiety, you can be losing out on benefits that can be entitled to you in that aspect, which
Mhm,
is very important. Part of his compensation, part of his treatment as well. Benefits of opening up certain doors for VA benefits as you start going up the scale or the tier of the percentage aspect or value, which actually can help your quality of life and reduce your anxiety if certain anxieties are being manifested currently. Get compensated, uh, rightfully so, for the disability that you have can basically reduce some of the anxiety in certain areas in that aspect. So it's
mhm.
very important to make sure that you become vulnerable, you seek that treatment, get the medical evidence as you proceed forward in developing your claim. So it's very important.
Um, I have a there's a comment
Hmm.
in the chat, Lawrence. How do I get service connected for my anxiety when I was too ashamed to mention it when you were in the service? You're not the only one. There's a
Yeah,
lot of us that it's a taboo to mention, right? The fear of losing your job, the fear of being criticized. Oh, you're weak. Oh, you're gonna go see, all those crazy things that we tell ourselves as vets, or try to make fun of somebody else that are actually hurting. So you're not the only one, but um, I would say sign up with us, have that one-on-one with the coach, just so they can look into your case a little specifically and see how else something can be connected, right? But don't feel alone. Many vets go through the military dealing with this, with anxiety or any of the other 30 mental health symptoms, and don't say a word because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be criticized, right? So, yeah.
Well, Henry,
Robert Howard, how do I get
mhm,
connected to VA Claims Insider?
right there. Where's the link? It should be a link popping up.
Yeah, there
There
you
we
go.
go, right there. So yeah, let's touch some of the topics on the rating aspect. I'm going to start off with the 0%, and then we're going to continue down and hit some of the symptomology of the different ratings, so people can get a little bit of more knowledge on how the VA looks at the rating aspect. So I'll read it out for 0%. So at 0%, if you've been diagnosed with anxiety but you don't display any symptoms that interfere your ability to work and interact with others, require medication, or you'll be rated at 0. A lot of times, which I've noticed as I talk to vets, we tend to undermine our symptoms, or we're embarrassed, or like you said, ego, or we just don't have the education to really know that these are the symptoms that are connected to service. So that's one of the
Yep.
biggest things that sometimes can give you a very low rating, is that sense of being uncomfortably vulnerable in that aspect. So a lot of times as veterans, we've been taught to, press on, move on, nothing wrong with me, I'm good, like Henry was saying. And what ends up happening is that you actually hurt yourself in that aspect when it comes to the claim process, in order to be able to get the disability or the compensation that you truly deserve. And always look at it for your worst day possible in that aspect, because you can be good one day, but another day you may not have your best day, and you have to gauge it in that perspective. And that's actually, like I said, can get you on a low score for not really being totally open and honest with your symptomology.
Yep. Yep.
You want me to go to the
Yeah.
next one?
I mean, again, he's going to go through all of them, right?
Yeah,
Well, some of them, but
yeah,
back to what I mentioned earlier. If they don't know what you're really dealing with, they can't rate you for that condition. So
exactly.
again, mental health is mental health, anxiety. It's one of those conditions that you can easily get service connected, but it's also
Mhm,
hard at the same time because you have to open your mouth and tell someone,
and you have to be
this is who I
uncomfortable.
am.
Yeah,
This is
and you
who
have
I
to be
am.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They can't again put you in an X-ray machine and like, oh, cool, this is exactly, he has a broken bone. This is what, you know, it's all about what you share. It's all about, what you let them know. Let them into that world that no one knows about. Like we say here, you want to be comfortable being uncomfortable,
Correct.
right? But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm gonna continue going down the list. 10% anxiety is that you have very mild symptoms. Symptoms at 10% for VA rating anxiety, and if you take medication that keeps the symptoms under control, you more than likely be rated at 10%. In that aspect. So it's just slightly up, whereas mild compared to 0 on that aspect. As
Mhm.
we move up to 30%, that's when you start seeing some changes. So, for example, at 30% is when you have occasional issues with work. You may not be up to performing self care and routine tasks at time, and you can generally still function. And these periods of anxiety don't happen very often. So you could also be experiencing some insomnia, mild memory loss, suspiciousness, and panic attacks. And these are
Yeah.
things, like I said, you have to be very open and vulnerable if you do have these things. And a lot of times we minimize our conditions because it's our daily norm. We're used to it. So we function very well in that realm. So that's like what Henry said. You have to be uncomfortably vulnerable to be able to acknowledge these things. And you can get, like I said, on that one-on-one call with your coach, you're able to discuss those things to be able to point out what are those symptomologies in reference towards on the 31 symptoms of mental health, and we'll provide you this the resource, that information, so you can start taking a look and figure out what are the things that actually you feel that you're having issues with, based on how the VA rates it. And then basically is panic attacks, sudden episodes of intense fear that causes severe physical reaction as a result of or intense anxiety. If you're experiencing panic attacks, they happen less than once per week. Symptoms of a panic attack includes, please listen up, high blood pressure, racing heart, tremors, blurred vision, nausea or vomiting, hearing issues, numbness or tingling, chills, dizziness, difficulty in breathing, diarrhea, or constipation. Those are some of the symptoms. Doesn't necessarily mean that you will get them all, but you maybe experience one of these or several of these. So that's something that you have to really take a look and really self analyze yourself, not diagnose yourself, but analyze yourself that when you have these particular type of attacks, what is your physical reaction? And a lot of times we have to
Yeah.
take that time and write it down. We have to take time for self care, which is going to be very important because that's the only way that we're going to understand what we're going through and let a
Right.
professional be able to diagnose you on that.
Correct. Correct. I mean, like you just said, write it down. I always tell vets, or most of the time, hey, go to Walmart, pick up a journal, and start writing things down.
Mhm.
As you
Yes.
mentioned here, right? One of the symptoms is mild memory loss. And as it gets higher in the rating, there's where the memory loss gets even more intense. The best way to remember what you're dealing with or what you're struggling with is to start writing things down. Hey, I attended this class today on anxiety. There were these two crazy coaches on there talking about this stuff. Um, right? But you start writing things down, and then you can look back at it a year from now, and it's like, oh wow, I remember this. Boom, it makes sense.
Correct. I'm going to move on to the next one as we're approaching that time.
Yeah.
50% anxiety is at the 50% level. You're moderately impacted by your anxiety. The main difference between 30 and 50 is an increase in difficulty in maintaining personal relationships, where you may have difficulty with, you know, how we say veterans engaging with civilians per se. We don't relate. It may create difficulty in your social aspect, which could be your home dynamic, work dynamic, your peer dynamic. So those are things that you have to take a look at in that aspect. And you'll also experience more panic attacks more than once a week. So that's very important. As the criteria goes up, we start getting to 70. And 70 is basically at least 70% your anxiety is causing issues in most areas of your life, which is school, work, family, judgment, thinking, or mood. Notably, if you experience suicidal ideation, this is a minimum level in that aspect. You're likely to be rated, or other symptoms at this rating include constant panic attack, depression impacting your ability to function independently, impaired impulse or control, difficulty adapting to stressful situations, and inability to maintain relationships. And just to touch a little bit of it, like for example, impaired impulse control, that can be anger burst, sometimes just crying, when depression hits, in that aspect. So, those are uncontrollable emotions that you just can't control it. And difficulty to adapting stressful situations, that's kind of self-explanatory, where
Mhm.
the stress level is so high you just can't cope. You just have to walk away, or you get frustrated, or maybe another symptom kicks in where your mood changes as well. And a lot of these symptomologies can be intertwined. One can trigger off the other, the other. So that's why it's always important to actually get that professional diagnosis, and for you to be totally vulnerable, uncomfortably vulnerable, so they can properly
Correct.
diagnose you with that aspect. An inability to maintain relationships, it could be, divorces, failed marriages, maybe you're estranged from your children, from family members, you know.
Cousins,
Yeah,
friends, coworkers. Don't limit it to just those close to you in general. Just people in general you don't want to be around anymore.
correct. That's something that's very important. Like I said, the hardest part is really being vulnerable. At least for me, it was to be able to
Yeah.
acknowledge these things. I didn't want to feel that I was broken or there was something wrong with me mentally, but I was able to open up and have a good community behind me. with that sense of being able to support me in that aspect, it allowed me to open up a little bit more and be able to get the proper treatment that I need, to be able to have the proper coping mechanisms in that aspect. And let's go to the 100, where a lot of people are always curious about the 100 aspect. So for 100% anxiety rating, it's basically it is. If you give me one, so it's in your anxiety is causing severe issues at home, work, or you could be rated at 100% level. You may not be able to work because of your anxiety level is so detrimental. So in this particular aspect, you're likely suffering from a number of these symptoms, and it's going to be impaired thought process and communication, hallucinations or delusions, inappropriate behavior, danger of hurting yourself and others, lack of personal hygiene or other daily tasks, disorientation, and as well memory loss. And that's something that honestly I would highly suggest that you do become a member, get with a coach that you're able to talk about your particular condition. So then that way, as you start looking for a game plan and a strategy, you'll be able to be better informed on how to proceed forward.
I do want to take a quick pause and let us know
Sure.
that this book right here is super super helpful. You deserve it. This is actually the second edition, written by Brian
Brian
Reese.
Reese.
Um, I was gonna say this is not a plug, but it is a plug because you guys need it. Pick it up as vets. Pick it up. I purchased two of them, one for myself, and I'm a coach, but I purchased one
Yep.
for myself and one for someone else. Usually, I'm running into people in Walmart or you know
I have it here too.
Lo-
Now because I work
Lowe's or Lowe's or wherever. But I'm always, if I see someone, it's a great resource. Um, they say knowledge is power, but don't just pick this book up just to read it. Pick it up to highlight it, circle it, and put
correct.
it into action. So like that, you can get exactly what you deserve. But Brian did a really good job
Just to add a
with this
little bit
book.
more on the book, once you start getting immersed in the book and you start reading it, honestly, is so much vast information that's extremely beneficial for you. I mean,
Right.
it'll tell you from each state what your benefits are, what you're entitled to, what else it opens up. So as you start going up the scale of the rating scale, it opens up so many other doors that usually people are not aware of. So I highly
Exactly.
recommend that you get it. It is extremely important that you have the knowledge of what you're entitled to,
Hmm.
specifically in your state. So then that way you can feel, at least empowered with the information that's provided for you.
Let me go into the chat real quick.
Sure.
Mm, I have a pending PTSD claim. Do they rate anxiety separately, or is it lumped? It more than likely might be lumped into because PTSD is under the umbrella of mental health. So more than likely it will be, kind of lumped into one. Again, anxiety is a symptom of PTSD. So, and that I guess that kind of goes to a few others that ask kind of the same question. Um, can you can you get a nexus? I'm assuming can you get a nexus for hypertension with anxiety disorder? Um, anxiety can stem from any condition that you are currently service connected to. So again, you need that nexus, you need that medical evidence, the diagnoses. But any condition that you have can cause some level of anxiety.
Yeah, can I
Um,
add to that? You kinda
sure.
hit it, but you hit it very light. If that medical evidence is there that's showing the pathway that your PTSD is causing this particular condition, then that's something where, like, Henry said, that you have to get that medical evidence. You just can't throw it out there and throw claims to the wall. There has to be some type of medical evidence backing it up, and of course, having that nexus to add that extra support, with information and data in reference towards the reasoning why hypertension is linked to
Hmm.
that particular condition that you're trying to link it to as a secondary. So medical evidence is going to be the most important thing when you're trying to link a particular condition secondary to a primary one. So that's extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I do want to maybe have our links out there. If you guys decide to work with either Charles or myself, our links are in the chat. Um,
Definitely.
again, come on board. We can have a great conversation. Um, not every veteran is the same. Not every person has the same history, the same path. So you need to get a tailored, specific to your situation, strategy. So like that, we're able to help you.
Yeah, best
Now I
serve
know
you.
some people might not like Charles, and I get it. You don't like him either sometimes. But if you want to come and enjoy my side, that's fine and dandy. No, I'm just kidding.
He's not kidding. He's being serious. Now, I gotta admit, throughout my journey, and this is me being vulnerable here in this platform, uh, Henry has been extremely instrumental, being that battle buddy, being that person to talk to, and as well as many other employees here at our company. And we basically, put it into practice. Some days more than others, but definitely want to tell him, how grateful I am to have him as a battle buddy, to have him at a brother, as a brother in arms, to be able to help me out in certain aspects of my life that has to do with mental health. And honestly, love you, brother, man. It's always an honor to work with
Same
you and
here.
serve with you.
Same here.
Uh, and like I said, I encourage many other veterans to do so. Feel free to sign up with us. Our community is outstanding. It's awesome. So please feel free to actually join us in that membership. So then that way we can help you tailor a specific strategy for you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Same here, man. Same here.
And just to answer Jonathan Steele, no, we're not a firm. We're not paralegal or VSOs. All right. So, Henry, so in this particular aspect, we discussed a lot of the stuff that has to do with anxiety, and just to recap, it's just to let everybody know that as you join as an elite member, you have Zoom 3 times a day, coffee with coaches is one of them. You have mental health Mondays, CMP prep, elite Q&A where you can ask specific questions in that aspect. I think it's highly recommended that you actually end up joining us. So then that way you can get educated. Education is power. It allows you to be well informed in order to be able to execute a fully developed claim as you continue to move forward. We love serving the community. We would love to have you guys. Like Henry said, you can pick Henry, me, or any of the other coaches that are here. We'll be more than happy to serve you. And we're here for that.
Correct. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. You know, get the book, watch our videos, read our blogs. The information is out there, right? Just getting the information is a key, is a piece to it, but putting it into action is the second part, right? But then you need that strategy. You need to, not throw everything against the wall and hope that something sticks. Because if you've been doing that for many years and it's not working, something has to change.
Yeah.
So
Hit
I
us up.
wish you all nothing but the best. Please call your veteran, reach out to them. We're all, I think someone put it in the chat earlier. We can all make fun of each other, Marines, Army, Navy, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, we're the only ones that can do that. No one else can do it, right? It's like you're making fun of your siblings. Only your siblings can do that. No one else.
Fun
So
banter back and forth.
exactly.
And
Let's
just
cover
to
each
add,
other's six.
yeah, I wanted to add one more thing, which was extremely important, which Michael actually put up. We are on YouTube, we are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. So there's plenty of other resources that you can see us on different platforms. So feel free to, join us in those platforms. Spread the information. I'm pretty sure if you're inquiring about the information, there's other vets that are also inquiring about it. You know,
Uh-huh.
once again, to recap, we cater in English as well as Spanish to be able to help out those Spanish speaking vets that feel more comfortable in speaking in that language. So we're here to actually serve the veteran community, in that aspect. So feel free to join us. It doesn't cost a thing to actually get the information. And not only that, we basically want the best for you. So please join us here, Facebook, uh, with our You Deserve It book, and with us, Henry, Charles, and all the other staff and coaches here. Love you guys. Thank you for actually participating today.